Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking into 10 horror movies that you might not have heard of that are actually really good. Now, it's not going to be a top 10 from worst to best. It's not going to be 10 of the best films that you might have not heard of. It's just 10 random ones that I've spoken about to people that tend to say to me, I don't think I've seen that one, or I've never heard of that one whatsoever. So I've compiled this list based on interactions that I've had with people, not 10 of the most obscure horror films you've ever or you've never seen before, just 10 films that I've spoken about to people that almost have no clue they exist. The first I want to talk about is Splinter from 2008. Now, there aren't going to be any spoilers in this video, guys. Obviously, if you haven't seen the films, I don't want to spoil any of them for you, but Splinter is the first one. I'll just give you a quick synopsis about what these films are about. A couple of people bump into another couple of people on the highway and they get stuck in one location, a kind of isolated horror film, and it's a body horror film as well, which is quite cool. And there's this little thing called what they like to call the splinter, because it looks like little wooden splinters that you get in your fingers, and it attacks the people's skin. And once it gets inside your skin, there's almost no escape from it. And that's what this film is about. This group of people get stuck at this gas station and they have to try and survive the night in order to get away from this splinter. Next up, we've got Husk from 2011. Now, I can't remember where this was played. I don't know if you remember the things like 8 Movies to Die For or the After Dark horror films that used to come out every year. And they tend to bring out films that are kind of bad, to be honest. I've watched quite a few of them and I didn't like most of them, but there was this one gem in that pack called Husk. And there's something about scarecrows in horror films, and you'll probably see more of these on this list, but there's something about scarecrows in horror films that I actually really like. And this one is about a group of people that are stuck in this little place, in this little cornfield, and there's this scarecrow in this barn that's got a deadly past. I will say that there's some twists and turns throughout the film, and that's all thanks to a storyline that's actually quite unique and interesting. Next, we've got Dead End from 2003. This might be one of the ones where most people will know about, but maybe just haven't still seen it. And it feels quite similar to the film Husk that I just spoke about earlier. There's an isolated place on the highway this time. It's set on Christmas night or Christmas Eve, and a family's going along this highway and they're stuck, they're lost, they don't know where they are. And it's got similar vibes to the movie Husk, only this time there's no scarecrow involved. Again, it's got a really good twist at the end that I don't want to tell you about. One of the best twists that I've seen in a horror film before. And because this one is lesser known, I think it's harder to get the twist spoiled for you. So obviously I won't mention it, but great film right up until the very end. And it's got a great twist at the end as well. Next up, we've got The Midnight Hour from 1985. This one was a Halloween film that was released on the ABC channel back in 1985. Unfortunately, it came out on the 1st of November 1985, even though it was a Halloween film set on Halloween, specifically made to come out for Halloween. But I think because of the day that that movie was supposed to come out, it just ended up on the 1st of November. But it's about these groups of teenagers who awaken the dead on Halloween night, and it's up to them to stop the dead from killing everyone in a little small town. Fantastic, eerie, atmospheric Halloween horror film. Probably the most Halloween-vibed horror film that I've seen of all time. Very little people know about this movie. It doesn't help that the film hasn't come out on Blu-ray or 4K before, and it probably won't for a long time because of rights issues. But the film did come out on DVD back in 2000 from Anchor Bay. I was lucky enough to be one of the people who got it on DVD because it sold out really fast. But we've only had bootlegs since then. So it's a very rare film to get on physical media. I don't think it has been released on streaming services before or digital, and I don't think it will again for a long time until they get the rights sorted out. But if you're looking for a really fantastic Halloween-themed horror film, similar to the likes of Hocus Pocus, only a little bit darker, and I think The Midnight Hour is for you. Sometimes They Come Back from 1991 is next on the list. This one is a Stephen King film, or at least it's been written by Stephen King. It wasn't a Stephen King novel to begin with. Stephen King wrote this specifically for the screen. So it was written for the screen, and it didn't get released in the theaters. I don't think it did anyway. I think it was a TV movie back in 1991. I didn't see this one till the mid 90s, but I absolutely loved this one. It felt like a darker, more adult version of an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's got those creepy elements to it, some really nice score, some great atmosphere, sorry. Fantastic acting throughout. Tim Matheson is the star of this movie, and it's about a man who he thinks back to when he was younger. Him and his brother were hanging about the railway lines, similar to Stand By Me. He's got a similar vibe to that. An accident happens, 4 bad guys get killed, and then when this man is now older, he's a teacher, and these people who died on the railway tracks come back to school one by one to haunt him. Great little eerie horror film, one that not a lot of people have seen, and it is quite surprising because it is a Stephen King. I was going to say a Stephen King adaptation, but it was written by Stephen King for the screen, and yes, it's definitely one you should check out. Next up, we've got Intruder from 1989. This one, another one, is very atmospheric, fantastic late 80s horror film. If you're into your Evil Deads, then you're going to absolutely love this. If you're into your Evil Deads, then you've probably heard of this one. This is one of the more known films on the list, but it's a film by the likes of Scott Spiegel, Sam Raimi. You've got Ted Raimi in there as well. Bruce Campbell is in this. So you've got all the players from the Evil Dead franchise, only this time it's not an Evil Dead movie. It doesn't really play out like an Evil Dead movie either. It's just about a serial killer locked in just a grocery store. It's got the vibes of the film Career Opportunities with Jennifer Connelly, sorry. But it's only a horror film this time, and we've got to try and figure out who the killer is that's on the loose inside this store. Next up, we've got a second movie featuring scarecrows, and that is Scarecrow from 1988. This is one that was introduced to me in my local Global Video store here in the UK. I don't think you guys would have had a Global Video in the US, probably similar to Family Video. But I always seen this front cover of a scarecrow on this VHS, and my parents decided to rent it one day for us, and it was scary. It's about this military group that are in an airplane and they've stolen money, and they crash land on this little farm with a cornfield and some scarecrows, and they have to try and hide the money and get the money and leave. So it's kind of like a heist movie as well, but as soon as they land, you forget all about the heist part of this film. Is all about the horror, and these scarecrows come to life and pick them off one by one. Again, I won't spoil too much about it, but that's the basic premise of Scarecrow, or Scarecrows, I should say, sorry, plural. But yeah, great little eerie late 80s horror film that not a lot of people have heard of. Next up, we've got The Girl Next Door from 2007. Now, from time to time, you get 2 films that come out in the 1 year that are very similar to each other, like Armageddon in 1998 and Deep Impact in 1998. It's happened time and time again. A Bug's Life and Ants came out in 1998 as well. But in 2007, we had The Girl Next Door, and then the more known one, An American Crime from 2007, that starred Ellen Page, James Franco, etc. So that was a star-studded cast of the same story. And it's about this girl and her little sister who are being watched by people that this family don't really know. But this woman who watches these kids, she's got lots of kids around the neighborhoods that she watches, and they decide to abuse these 2 young girls. Now, this is a true story, but the film An American Crime with James Franco, that's the one where they use their real names and it's based on true facts. Whereas The Girl Next Door, it's an adaptation by Jack Ketchum, who wrote the script for this one, changed the names, of course, but he kept the story the same and it was all true. This one seems to be a little bit more darker. I think they could go a little bit darker because it wasn't supposed to be based on the true story. So they went a little bit deeper, a little bit more detailed into what happened to these young girls. And it's absolutely frightening, guys. If you liked An American Crime and you're interested to find out a little bit more about the story, then maybe close your mind off a little bit and watch The Girl Next Door. It's a lot darker, a lot more serious as well, and it's a lot harder to watch. But at the same time, it's one that maybe it's skipped past a lot of people because they heard of An American Crime and didn't even think about The Girl Next Door. Next, we have The Boogins from 1981. Now, if you like your monster films, I think The Boogins is the one for you. Now, The Boogins, you have to close your mind off with this one as well, because near the end of the film, I will give the film its due, near the end of the film, we get the reveal of a monster. And as soon as you see that monster, I think it takes everything away. But the build up to seeing the monster, where it's situated, we've got this kind of cave mountain area where these people are working and their friends and family come along and people are getting picked off one by one. What's killing them, we just don't know. But it's a very eerie, atmospheric, early 80s horror film that I don't think anyone has ever spoken about before. Obviously, I watch YouTube all the time and I've got friends that have got YouTube channels. I've never spoken to anyone about this film before, but it's one that I've watched quite a few times now, and it's a really cool little horror film that I tend to watch around about Halloween time. Why haven't I spoken about it to anyone? I have actually no idea, but it's definitely one that if I'm not thinking about it, and then hopefully you guys are not thinking about it either, definitely check it out though. Creepy little horror monster flick. Last on this list, we've got The Caller from 1987. Again, I've never heard anyone speaking about this movie before. This is a really good film, one that I wasn't expecting, and it's got a really cool twist at the end of the movie. Again, there's something I was about to say there, and I won't say it because I think it would give it away, but I won't tell you what the twist consists of. So I'll just tell you that there is a twist in it, and I think you'll enjoy it. Malcolm McDowell is in it. He's a lot younger in this one than you would obviously recognise him from Halloween 2, for example. But Malcolm McDowell goes to this house where there's a woman herself, and his car is broken down in the middle of the woods. She's the first house that he goes to, and it's just those two throughout the entire film, and they're sitting down having a chat with each other, trying to catch each other out. Is she something else? Is there something about this woman that he doesn't know? Has he went to the wrong house? Is he in danger? Or has she let the wrong person in? Is he up to something? Is his car even broken down? So they go back and forth. It's like a cat and mouse chase just through words. And the dialogue is fantastic because it keeps you on the edge of your seat to the very end until we get that twist. And you're like, well done. I actually really enjoyed that. So if you're looking for a little film but it's not got a lot of cast and it's mainly dialogue based with a nice twist at the end, then I think The Caller is definitely for you. So that's just 10 films that I would maybe recommend to you if you haven't seen or heard of them at all. I tried to change it up a little bit because I don't want to put the usual suspects in there when you're talking about films that you might have not seen. So I tried to include some films that I've personally never spoken about before to you guys on my channel. There might be someone there that I have spoken about before. There might be someone on the list that's quite obvious to you that everyone should have seen, but hopefully there's at least one or two on there that maybe will tickle your fancy. But if there's anything else that you think of, guys, is there any horror films that maybe nobody talks about or nobody has seen before that people should check out? If there is, leave your list down below, guys. Let us know what you think. Also, if you end up watching any of these films, leave your opinions down below. Let me know what you think of them as well. And as always, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!